Welcome to this pre-recorded session for the Students with Intensive Support Needs application process, which is referred to as SISNA, and will often be stated as such throughout this presentation. This session was developed by the staff from the Office of Special Education, Finance, and Budget, often referred to as the FAB team. Sunithia Reed and Paul Raskoff manage the Students with Intensive Support Needs process. Sunithia, known as Cece, is the woman in charge. Paul Raskoff works with Cece to manage the process. This session was developed to assist school divisions personnel in completing the application for the reimbursement of costs for students with the most intensive instructional and support needs enrolled in Virginia Public Schools. This session will cover the purpose of the application, instructions for completing the application and submitting the Excel workbook application, and provide you with information for the regional question and answer sessions. As you can see here, we hope you gain an understanding of the purpose, the Excel workbook and the content of each tab, how to complete the application, how to submit the initial application and amendments when needed, and remember to come to the regional question and answer sessions at the end. Also, during this session, it would be helpful for you to have available the July Superintendent's Memo regarding SISNA, the SISNA Excel workbook. You can get it by accessing it on the Single Sign-On Web System, SSWS, and click on SISNA section and download it to your desktop. You'll have clear instructions later on. And you'll also be important for you to have last year's SISNA application if applicable. Now that you know the objectives and the resources needed, let me welcome Cece Reed and Paul Raskoff, who will dazzle you with the simplicity of completing the SISNA. Paul is our first presenter. Paul, it's all yours.
Thank you, Joanne, and welcome everyone to our audio training session with information related to the Students with Intensive Support Needs application, the SISNA. This is the first of a series of varied training opportunities the Virginia Department of Education will be providing for divisions. The SISNA is the Students with Intensive Support Needs application. This is the document that VDOE uses to provide an opportunity for all school divisions to receive funds to offset the high cost of providing instructional and direct services to students with intensive support needs. VDOE requires the use of this application as part of the process for divisions to be able to receive reimbursement for the costs incurred for certain services for certain high-cost, difficult-to-serve students.
The SISNA Excel workbook has 10 tabs. The tabs are as follows: cover page, overview and instructions, contact information and assurances information, student eligibility, student selection, services cost analysis, summary of costs, collaboration partnerships, previous year's funds, and submission checklists. As part of the presentation today, You will receive information on how to complete each tab. To have access to the SISNA and guidance documents, it is imperative to gain access to the single sign-on for web systems. Prior to completing the SISNA, it is strongly recommended the school divisions create a school division team to assist in formulating information that will be used to complete and submit the SISNA. This team should consist of, but not limited to, the superintendent and individuals from the finance, data, and instruction department. It is recommended the team do the following: identify and clarify each team member's role in the school division's SISNA process, especially in understanding how the process continues throughout the school year. Review the superintendent and assistant superintendent memos pertaining to the SISNA. Read and discuss the SISNA and guidance documents that support the SISNA. If applicable, review the previous year's approved SISNA. Be mindful that the submission of the SISNA is the first step in the process for applying for funds. As a reminder, the SISNA is due to the VDOE by 5:00 p.m. on September 30th. Now we will discuss the contents of the SISNA Excel workbook.
Tab number 1 of the SISNA is the cover page. With this tab, divisions are required to provide identifying information to confirm the legal entity submitting an application for funds. Each division selects their division from the drop-down table provided. Each division selects the name of the partnership of which they are a member from the drop-down table provided. And each division selects the ISS code associated with their partnership from the drop-down table provided. If a division is a new applicant with a new partnership, they can type in the name of their new partnership. If an ISS code has not been assigned yet by VDOE, state that when they enter the name of the partnership. VDOE will assign ISS codes as needed for new partnerships. Each division also enters the original submission date for this SISNA, and each division provides the name of the division's special education director.
An approved SISNA allows school divisions to submit a reimbursement cost claim for services provided for students with intensive support needs. When selecting students, school divisions will need to review the school division's individual student information to determine if students meet the eligibility requirements. The school division must also have a partnership with one or more school divisions and have a documented memorandum of understanding. After completing the service cost analysis and SISNA, the school division will need to create a SISNA zip file that includes the SISNA, service cost analysis, and a copy of the MOU agreement. The zip file should be saved and uploaded to the SISNA application via SSWS as follows: the school division name, SISNA zip file. For example, Jackson County SISNA zip file. The SISNA must be submitted to the VDOE by 5:00 p.m. on September 30th. This tab provides brief instructions for completing the SISNA.
Tab number 3, contact and assurances info. With this tab, the division provides the name and contact information for the person that is responsible for completing the SISNA. Also with this tab, the division applying for funds is made aware of certain basic conditions related to the provision of the funds and the use of the funds being applied for. A primary purpose for including these assurances in the SISNA is to provide formal recognition and acknowledgement of the conditions for the use of funds for certain costs and services. And for each assurance, there is a drop-down box in which the division selects yes or no, indicating that they understand and accept the specific requirement. Once the superintendent's name is typed in the space provided, this will indicate the understanding and acceptance by the division of the required conditions for use of funds.
The Student Eligibility tab describes the mandatory eligibility requirements for each student identified in the SISNA. Each student must meet the first 3 eligibility requirements and have 3 or more of the following 10 eligibility requirements. The school division will need to use the drop-down buttons to select yes, no to the appropriate statement that applies to all of the students included in the SISNA. Please refer to the mandatory requirements for each student identified as intensive support needs checklist document located on SSWS in the instructions section. On the Student Selection tab, school divisions will need to provide a detailed explanation on how the school division selected students included in the SISNA. The school division will also have to include the total number of students by primary disability category. The total number of students will automatically be calculated based on the numbers provided. Using the drop-down buttons, the school division will select the appropriate statements that applies to all students included in the SISNA. On the bottom of the tab, there is an amendment section. This section is used in 2 instances. The VDOE is requiring the school division to amend the SISNA, or the school division will need to make changes to the SISNA. Information on amendments can be found on SSWS in the instructions section.
Tab number 6 of the SISNA is the services cost analysis. On this tab, divisions are provided with information on the requirement to develop an Excel spreadsheet that includes the estimated annual costs for services and staff needed for each student with intensive support needs that's been identified in the SISNA. The information should be related to the services and staffing specified in each student's IEP. To provide the required information for the estimated annual costs for the services and staffing needs, the division will need the hourly rates for the teachers, paraprofessionals, bus drivers, etc., that serve and support the students with intensive support needs. Divisions will also need to be able to separate the specific information for the students identified in the SISNA as meeting the criteria as students for intensive support needs from the other students in the class who do not meet the criteria. When completed, the services cost analysis spreadsheet will reflect the expected annual costs for the services and staffing needed for the students identified in the SISNA. Note, include the student testing identifier, the STI, for each student included in the services cost analysis spreadsheet. A school division receives funding for students identified as meeting the criteria as a student with intensive support needs in lieu of other state funds in accordance with language in the state special education regulations. This in lieu of clause means that the division will receive funds from the intensive support needs funding, but not the normal state funding that a school division would normally receive. That normal state funding would include the division's individual average daily membership, the ADM, per pupil amount, possibly some of the funds provided for funded teaching positions through the Standards of Quality, the SOQ funding model, as well as certain other state funds. And while the time needed to complete the services cost analysis correctly can be labor intensive, the level of detail that is provided in the SISNA is exactly the level of detail that is needed later in the year when divisions submit semester claims for the costs incurred for identified students with their school division's student record collection. Guidance on information that must be included in the services cost analysis spreadsheet, such as whether or not certain costs are allowable to claim for reimbursement, will be provided by VDOE staff on an ongoing group and individual basis. And guidance on information that must be included in the services cost analysis spreadsheet, such as whether or not certain costs are allowable to claim for reimbursement, is also provided by the VDOE with the guidance document on students with intensive support needs. Note, divisions should not apply their local composite index, the LCI, to their total expected annual costs, which are itemized for each student in their cost analysis spreadsheet. The local composite index is applied later by the Department of Education when determining the cost to be reimbursed to divisions.
For student 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, Teacher 1 provides 4 hours of direct services to the student. Teacher 1's hourly salary is $35 an hour, and they have 3 students in the class. To determine the total cost for educating the student for a day, you would divide $35 by 3, the number of students in the class, and multiply that number by 4, the number of hours the student receives direct services, to give you $46.66. This is also done for Teacher 2 and Adaptive PE. Since the student has a one-to-one aide, you will multiply the one-to-one aide's hourly salary of $20 by 5, the number of hours they support the student. That would give you a total of $100. For transportation, the bus driver and the transportation aide salary are multiplied by the number of hours the student receives special transportation to and from school. To get the total cost for a school day for this student, you would add the following numbers: $46.66, $20, $100, $13.33, $40, and $40 to give you a total of $259.99. You would then multiply $259.99 by the number of school days. The total instructional cost for this student for 180 days is $46,798.20. As you can see, the PT and OT services are contracted services at $70 an hour per week. The total cost for these contracted services are calculated separately. Then the totals for contracted service for 36 weeks equals $5,040. This student has an assistive technology device that costs $500. This student also participated in summer school that cost $2,000. Please note the assistive technology and summer school costs are applied after the total costs have been calculated, since they are one-time costs. The total annual cost to educate this student is $54,338.20. For student 987654321, Teacher 1 provides 4 hours of direct services to the student. Teacher 1's hourly salary is $56 an hour, and they have 6 students in the class. To determine the total cost for educating this student for a day, you would divide $56 by 6, the number of students in the class, and multiply that number by 4, the number of hours the student receives direct services, to give you $57.33. This is also done for Teacher 2, Teacher 3, and Adaptive PE. To get the instruction total cost for a school day for this student, you would add the following numbers: $37.33, $15.50, $15, $10, $30, $40, and $70 to give you a total of $217.83. You would then multiply $217.83 by the number of school days. The total instruction cost for educating this student for 180 days is $39,209.40. As you can see, the speech and OT services are contracted services at $35 per half hour per week. The total cost for these contracted services are calculated separately. Then the totals for contracted service for 36 weeks equals $2,520. This student received ESY services for a total cost of $3,500. The ESY costs are applied after the total costs have been calculated, since they are one-time costs. The total instruction and contracted services for this student is $45,229.40.
Tab number 7 of the SISNA is the summary of costs. In this tab, divisions are required to provide sum totals for all of the individual students' costs itemized in the cost analysis spreadsheet, and to total these costs by general category. The SISNA has examples of the general categories which can be used when appropriate. The total for each general category, when added up, will match the total amount for all of the individual student total expected annual costs. Divisions can add other categories to include other individual student costs they might be including in their SISNA. The summary of costs is also where divisions should list other costs they expect to claim reimbursement for. For example, personnel development, when those costs don't easily fit in the cost analysis spreadsheet as an individual student cost. This tab in the SISNA will automatically add all of the individual category totals for an overall total sum of the division's annual expected costs. Note, divisions should not apply their local composite index, the LCI, to their total expected annual costs. As noted earlier, Virginia DOE will apply the local composite index when calculating the funds to be reimbursed.
As stated earlier, school divisions must partner with one or more school divisions. On this tab, the school division will need to provide a description of activities the partnership entities provide to support students with intensive support needs. School divisions will need to send a copy of the school division's signed Memorandum of Understanding Agreement in the school division's SISNA zip file via SSWS. The MOU document should be saved and sent as follows: the school division's name, MOU, and school year. The zip file should be saved and uploaded to the SISNA application via SSWS as follows: the school division's name, zip file. Example, Jackson County SISNA zip file.
Tab number 9 is the use of previous year's funds. In this tab, divisions will provide a summary statement addressing how the division used the funds they were reimbursed from the immediate previous year. Essentially, the division is confirming that the funds received were used in accordance with VDOE requirements and consistent with the specific information submitted with the previous year's SISNA and previous year's claims. As with all state funds, funds reimbursed for costs used to provide services to students with intensive support needs are subject to review and audit.
The submission checklist is a tool to assist school divisions in ensuring each tab has been completed and the correct documents have been saved using the correct naming format and submitted. This tab is for school divisions to use as a tool only. We have finished discussing the process for completing the SISNA. Now we will discuss how to access and submit the SISNA. To access the SISNA and guidance documents, you will need to access the SSWS. To gain access to SSWS, you will need to contact your school division's SSWS account manager. Once you have access, you enter your username and password.
Managing SSWS. Questions about your SSWS account or for help with any problems with the account can be addressed by your local school division SSWS account manager. They should always be your first point of contact. The following link will provide a directory of the SSWS account manager and backup account manager for each division. Please refer to this link for your local contact if you need that information. In the event that the local account manager is unavailable, the VDOE data services will be able to provide assistance. The contact information for them is the email resultshelp@doe.virginia.gov.
On the applications page, you will select Special Education Students with Intensive Support Needs application.
And once the user has accessed SSWS, you will find the welcome page.
Located on the welcome page, you will find a welcome message. On the right under the Instructions tab, you will find the guidance documents and the SISNA. Select and download the guidance documents and the SISNA to gain access to the documents and the application. The following documents must be submitted via SSWS: the completed SISNA, service cost analysis, and MOU. After completing the service cost analysis and SISNA, the school division will need to create a SISNA zip file that includes the SISNA service cost analysis and a copy of the MOU agreement. The zip file should be saved and uploaded to the SISNA application via SSWS as follows: the school division's name, SISNA zip file. Example, Jackson County SISNA zip file.
Next, we will discuss the SISNA approval process and the SISNA amendment process. Number 1, review and approval of the SISNA. Once a division has completed and submitted their SISNA, the application will be reviewed by VDOE staff. VDOE staff will use a checklist in reviewing all submitted SISNAs to ensure that all required components have been included or addressed, and to document any issues that may need to be discussed with the division. Once a division SISNA has been reviewed and the checklist has been completed, each division will receive an email notification indicating the approval status following DOE's review. This email notification will be sent to the division's special education director. Individual follow-up meetings. Regardless of the approval status of the division's SISNA, VDOE will schedule a follow-up meeting with all divisions that have submitted a SISNA. divisions will receive individual email contacts to schedule the meetings at a date and time convenient for all participants. For some divisions, the follow-up meeting may include a discussion of any issues identified during the VDOE review that might be impacting the approval status. The follow-up meetings for all divisions will include a discussion of the data and information submitted in the SISNA and an opportunity for the division to confirm the accuracy of these data, primarily the number and disabilities of the students identified and the total expected annual costs. The follow-up meeting for all divisions will also include a discussion with an overview of the data submission process and the funding process and the reimbursement process. This discussion of the funding process will have an emphasis on the impact on a division's possible funding based on the data submitted in their SISNA. Note, it is expected that all members of the division's SISNA team will participate in these meetings, as the meetings will touch on the program and services specified in the SISNA, the staffing costs specified to provide these services, the data submission process, and the funds that might be reimbursed. Number 3, amendments to the SISNA. It is likely that many divisions will be submitting amendments to their original SISNA. This is not unusual, and it is not indicative of a problem. In general, there are 3 possible reasons a division might need or might want to submit an amendment to their SISNA. 1, the division may recognize they need to revise something in the original SISNA, and this could happen at any point in the year. 2, the VDOE review of the SISNA may result in the need for a division to submit an amendment to one or more components of the original SISNA. 3, when data are submitted with the division's claims, either the division or VDOE may see that the actual claims being submitted differ from the information submitted with the original SISNA to a degree that is significant enough to require amendments to the original SISNA. When amendments are needed, the SISNA includes a section in most of the tabs for the required components where information specific to the amendment can be entered and resubmitted. And divisions will need to contact VDOE and discuss how and when they plan to submit the amended SISNA. Note, part of the intent of VDOE staff in addressing these issues in this section of the SISNA training is to impress upon divisions that the submission of the SISNA is only the beginning of a process that includes several steps and additional work on the part of divisions throughout the course of the entire school year, with all of the division's SISNA team members involved. To help with all this, BDOE has developed a guidance document with information on all aspects of completing the SISNA, including information on allowable costs, data submission process, and funding issues. Also, a calendar which specifies SISNA activities that occur at certain points in the year is also available. It is strongly recommended that these documents be shared and reviewed with all members of a division's SISNA team.
We will conduct Q&A sessions for each region beginning mid-August. Zoom information can be found in the Assistant Superintendent memo pertaining to the SISNA. Thank you for your time. Please do not hesitate to reach out to CC Reed or Paul Raskoff if you have any questions.